Yakṣas and Rākṣasas. You've probably heard those names before, right? They usually bring up images of supernatural beings, powerful demons, and these, mythical monsters from ancient Indian epics. But what if that's only half the story? What if, hidden just beneath all that myth, there's a real history of powerful human dynasties?
So, on one side, you have the myth we all know, a world full of magic, monsters, and these huge divine battles. But on the other side, there's a really compelling historical interpretation that suggests these weren't monsters at all. They were actually powerful human clans, and they were deeply involved in the politics and trade of ancient India. That's the core question we're going to dig into.
So in this explainer, our whole goal is to peel back those layers of mythology. We're going to investigate the evidence that points to the Yakshas and Rākṣasas being ancient Yadu clans, real people who really shaped the course of Bronze and Iron Age history. Okay, so where do you even start with something like this? Well, you have to go back to the oldest source we've got, the Rig Veda. It's one of the most ancient sacred texts of Hinduism. And it's right here, in this ancient text, that we find the first, and maybe the most crucial clue connecting these mythical beings to a very real human tribe. The first clue is all in the name. In the Rig Veda, we don't just find Yakshas, we find a group called the Yakshas, and that name is often used interchangeably with another group, the Yadus. Now, this isn't just some coincidence, this is the first thread that starts to unravel the whole myth.
And get this, the Yakshas aren't just mentioned in some abstract mythical story. No, they are named as actual participants in the famous Battle of Sudas, which was a well-documented, real tribal conflict. The text remembers them being defeated near the Yamuna River. We're talking about history here, not fantasy.
And from this point, we can actually track their movements. After that defeat near the Yamuna, these same Yakshas, or Yadus, pop up again as guardians of Kurukshetra, which is ironic because that's the very territory once ruled by their rivals. Then they migrate south to the Mathura region, where they become known as the Shurasena. You can see a clear historical path of a real group of people.
So, we've pretty much established the Yakshas as the Yadus, but what about the Rākṣasas? This is where the connection gets even more fascinating. It isn't just about politics or geography, it's genealogical. It's a direct bloodline.
There's a key quote from the source material that just frames this perfectly. When we read about epic heroes fighting so-called demons, we should really be thinking about it in a different way. One dynasty violently replacing another for political control.
I mean, the family connections are just undeniable. You have Madhu, a direct descendant of the Yadu clan, who is actually called a Rakshasa in the Ramayana. Then he marries Kumbhanasi, who happens to be Ravana's cousin, and their son, Lavana, goes on to rule Mathura as a Rakshasa king. Clearly, the lines between Yadu and Rakshasa weren't just blurred, they were practically non-existent.
And to really drive this home, think about this. Even Ravana's greatest enemy, the famous king Kartavirya Arjuna, he was also a Yadu king. He ruled from Mahismati on the Narmada River. So this epic struggle wasn't some clear-cut battle of gods versus demons. It was an internal civil war within the massive, extended Yadu clan complex.
All right, so we've got the political drama and the family ties. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because these clans, they didn't exist in a vacuum. They were major players in a vast, ancient network of trade and commerce that spanned the entire subcontinent.
The legendary fortress of Lanka is the perfect example. So forget the fantasy island floating in the sea. The historical evidence points to a real place, Bagatrav. This was a seaport from the Harappan or Indus Valley civilization, and it was strategically located right at the mouth of the Narmagal River, a major hub for maritime trade.
Now this changes everything. It means the legendary, unimaginable wealth of Vaishravana, the lord of the Yakshas, wasn't just conjured up by magic. It was generated by controlling one of the most lucrative trade empires of the ancient world. It was straight-up commercial wealth. And we're talking about real, high-value goods here. His network was moving luxury items like lapis lazuli from the north, plus gold, jade, and all sorts of other precious stones. This was the true source of his immense power and fortune. The scale of this operation was just incredible. This was a sophisticated network that connected the seaport of Bagatrava, our historical Lanka, all the way up to the Kailasa Manasarova region in the Himalayas. And they did it using the major rivers as superhighways for commerce.
You know, even other mythical sites start to make perfect sense in this context. The famous cave of Mayadanava, for instance, can be reinterpreted as a bilam, which is basically a guarded storage site. It was located near modern-day Baroda and used to warehouse all these valuable trade goods safely. It's practical, not magic. So when you assemble all this evidence, the linguistic clues, the genealogies, the geography, the economics, what you get is a fundamentally new way of understanding these ancient stories. We're actually moving from the realm of mythology into the realm of history.
It all comes down to this one simple idea. If you read these texts literally, you see monsters and demons. But if you read them historically, what emerges is this complex, fascinating picture of geopolitics, dynastic struggles, and trade wars in Bronze and Iron Age India.
So who were the Yakṣas and Rākṣasas, really? Well, they were powerful, river-based clans. They were trade-controlling dynasties, linked by mountains and rivers. And ultimately, they were all part of this vast and incredibly influential Yadu clan complex that literally shaped the ancient world.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If the stories of Yakshas and Rakshasas contain this hidden history of politics and trade, what other ancient myths from all around the world are just sitting there, waiting for us to reread them, not as fantasy, but as the forgotten history of our ancestors?